Hello, and welcome back to Stickman Music Reviews. I'm your host, Andrew, aka Drew Bungus, and with me, as always, is Daniel.
Hi.
And today, we are going to be reviewing the brand new album by Neon Trees called I Can Feel You for Getting Me. It's a very, I have not, heard from the band since, like, what was their last album, like in 2014?
6 years. It took actually, you know
Yeah,
what? The moment you brought up this album, it immediately brought back the memories of their old songs such as Animal and Everybody Talks, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever happened to that band? Turns out, yeah, there hasn't been a new album in 6 years. That surprised me.
yeah, a grand total of 6 years. And, yeah, would you like to start us off on uh what do you say are the things that you like about the album?
So, something that I liked about this album is how it began. Nothing against Habits or, well, technically maybe a little bit of pop psychology, but Nights, specifically this one, is a really strong track opener in how it sets the style of what they're going to be doing throughout this 34-minute album, which is pretty brisk,
Mhm.
especially compared to Picture Show. Because I think their longest one is Picture Show. This one is like considerably shorter. All the other three albums are like around the 30-minute mark, maybe 40-minute mark.
Mhm.
So compared to even Habits, I wouldn't say this was as great as Habits, but Nights and Used to Like are, I would say, the two strongest tracks that they've had in terms of like how the albums began. They really set the tone for the rest of the album. Um, Lyrically, not as impressive, definitely, but
Mhm.
they, in terms of what they're trying to go for, which even though I'm not really that much of a fan because I do miss the rather garage alternative sound that they used to have in the other two albums,
Mhm.
it's still a pretty good setup that they have, and the way that they're using the almost 80s or early 90s type sound for how they're trying to approach this album, it works. It works, and Nights is a pretty strong opener in how they want to establish that.
Yeah, I have down I believe that the first 3 songs are their strongest songs in my opinion. I think the first
Yeah.
3 are very catchy 80s, and I do agree Nights is a fantastic starter to the album. A couple things I do like to say is that the production is pretty clean. I've
Yeah.
noticed. Um, and nothing, it's the album's very much about indulgence and love and that kind of like fast life. Um, it's pretty much it's catchy overall. I mean, nothing groundbreaking in my
Mhm.
opinion, but it is quite an easy listen.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like the best way to describe this one is just solid. It's a solid album. It doesn't demand much of your attention, but for the 30 minutes that you listen to, it's a nice listen. It's really not much else.
yeah, but yeah. Any lowlights? Any lowlights? Or
Ooh,
do you want me to start
the
off with
sec-
that one?
well, I know you probably have something specific, but in a more general sense, the second half of the album, I would say everything post Living Single. I actually did like Living Single quite a lot, even though I think it was a little too friendly, especially
Mhm.
compared to like the rest of the discography and even the rest of the album. But after that song, the rest of the album just really,
Blends.
yeah, blends.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think after Living Single, it kind of blends, but I do think that I do like the vocal change and New Best Friend. It kind of
Oh yeah.
does put a good ending to it. But other than that, I did put Everything Is Killing Me and Going Through Something. Though catchy,
Ew.
are extremely bland, and
Yeah, they blend.
I believe I put yeah, Going Through Something. Um, it sounds like a blatant The Weeknd ripoff.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It sounds like like an outtake from their his newest album, After Hours, except not as performed as good, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Yeah, going through something is. I mean, I
that's
was debating whether if I thought that everything is killing me or going through something was the worst one. But after thinking it over, it's. I gotta say, I did not enjoy the lyrics from going through something compared to everything is killing me.
I
I
did too
just,
there.
yeah, I was. They felt they were very flat, like you said. They are. It does sound like just a straight up B side of like or something that was just absent in the recording for After Hours for the weekend.
Mhm.
But for the most, but even then, even then, its composition was kind of strong, even if it blends. But the lyrics just bring it down.
Yeah,
Really brings the track down.
yeah, and everything's killing me. I mean, it's just not like anything outstanding. It's a bearable track. It's just all right. And then when the night is over, I just put it as just another decent song. And then new best friend, I just feel like they just kind of were like, okay, we need a good closer. And I feel like that was a pretty decent closer for the
Yeah,
album. But the thing that
yeah.
sucks is that tracks like like Holy Ghost, Skeleton Boy, and Mess Me Up. They're such strong songs in my opinion, especially
Hmm.
the catchy hook on "Mess Me Up." If you're gonna mess me up, don't do it slowly. Like that was a
Yeah, that
catchy
was
line.
catchy.
And
Yeah,
then
and Neon Trees has always had that knack for making really catchy choruses, even though they
mhm,
might sound like relatively radio friendly. Like I was listening to Animal again, and yeah, admittedly that song does sound a little too radio friendly with its chorus, but it's still catchy as hell. And this is something that has still remained pretty strong throughout all of their albums, which they have the capacity to make very catchy but also very relatively insightful choruses that really do complement the sound that they want to chase.
yeah,
And that's always
yeah,
been a good strength.
yeah. I do think this is as very as I think their past sounds has also been inspired by the 80s. I feel like this one kind of bleeds through on the darker sides of like 80s pop, or I feel like pop psychology was kind
Yeah,
of like the brighter side. This is
actually,
kind of more like the yin and the yang. This is more the dark side, like dark alt
mm,
pop of like the 80s. Though, I mean, I'm gonna be real. I kind of like the 80s alt pop a little better because it's the 80s. But I feel like that they do a pretty decent job in
yeah,
taking inspiration from it. Though I really do wish that the last half of the album was as strong as the first half, and I feel like this could have been a great 80s inspired alt rock, alt pop, whatever you want to call it, album. And I feel like that it probably would have gotten more talk because I mean, even as good as the first half of the album, I haven't heard many people talking about this album, which I'm kind of shocked about
yeah.
that.
Actually, now that two things. One, yeah, the this barely had a Wikipedia page. The Wikipedia page doesn't have like any additional like information. It only has the track listing and any additional references. That's it. It has nothing else.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked,
Especially compared to like their actual page. Yeah, there's just nothing.
I'm
That was
shocked
pretty
because
shocking.
especially from a group that still gets radio play from a couple of their songs, even like songs that are as old as like 9 years old, that still
Yeah,
get radio play,
yeah. Animal is
and
still
everybody
pretty
talks
frequently
too.
played. Yeah, Everybody Talks is like a massive favorite when it comes to like the band. And there's another song from Picture Show, but I can't remember which one. But all of those three songs got really long play hours. Oh, and the one you showed me,
Sleeping with a friend.
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
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 and I love you, but I hate your friends. Yeah, these songs
yeah.
have still gotten airplay even like in 2020, and despite
Mhm.
and compared to like this new album just getting like radio silence. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'm shocked because I mean, as I said, the first 5, 6 songs are pretty strong, and
yeah,
I think, yeah, honestly, "Used to Like" is a perfect radio song, and I'm
yeah.
kinda
And
shocked it's not.
Nights is
Yeah,
a pretty damn good song from this album. Like,
yeah, agreed. They could've done, you know I think "Used to Like" was the first single they put out for this album, but I feel like, yeah, that's just the perfect radio song to get
yeah,
Neon Trees back on the radio, and it's just not. And I'm kind of sad about that because they
Yeah,
they
me
are a
too.
talented band. I mean, as even though they did stumble at the last little end, they're still doesn't they still have some pretty. There's more highlights and lowlights on this album.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second thing that I wanted to ask you is what kind of sound for Neon Trees do you prefer? Do you prefer the alternative garage kind of rock band strokes like sound, or do you prefer this more 80s focused pop infused sound?
Um, I feel like that honestly, the garagey alternative sound. Um, I mean, it feels like a natural to evolve from that, as most bands usually do in their early career. If they're very rock inspired, that bleeds through. But then as they progress, they want to try experimenting. And I feel
Yeah,
like with the whole 80s sound, though it has a little iffy on pop psychology, this still does have shining tracks, same
yeah,
as this one. But I feel like once they get it, once they have a good song, it's a good song, you know, with this 80s sound. So
agreed.
yeah, I mean, I do like the 80s sound. But yeah, I'm a 80s fanboy. I love 80s music. So I mean, maybe that's just my personal feeling toward it, but I feel like that they could really do a lot with it and experiment more with that kind of 80s vibe.
That's fair. So for me personally, I prefer the more garagey sound that they had blended
Mhm,
with everybody talk with Picture Show and Habits. Even though Habits wasn't necessarily a perfect one because Habits does suffer from some really poor lyrics at times in certain
mhm,
songs. But I do prefer that. That doesn't mean I'm not against the 80s instrumentation because I do love it as well, just as you do.
mhm,
However, personally, I think this is a step back. But not in the way that it's just like, okay, this is bad, just throw it all away. No, not at all. I would say it's more of a step back because the sounds that they have picked just unfortunately they blend together a little too much, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
should maybe revise them and create a lot more, I would say, diversity in the sounds that they're exploring and a little bit more, not energy because the energy is there,
mhm,
but I would say not charisma.
mhm,
What would the word be? I want to
uh,
I want to say it's God, I'm about to sound pretentious. Pizzazz?
uh, yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean to be fair, pop psychology was full of that.
Yeah, pop psychology was full of that, and it also kind of worked as a detriment at times
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. So what he's trying to say is tone down on the sass, but you don't make it not as sassy, I guess. Yeah, level
I
the sass. Balance the
uh,
sass.
balance, yeah, balance the sass. There we go. Because
Yeah.
there's a particular teenage energy that follows both Picture Show and Habits, and
Mhm.
it's still there for pop psychology. But and this was a comparison that I told you about is that it blends a little too much, and it ends up sounding like what is this, that what is that band? Two Door Cinema Club's previous works, which were the ones before False Alarm, which I believe were Beacon and Game Show. Game Show in particular sounds essentially like that in that it's somehow a little bit more than what they are usually accustomed to, but at the same time, it ends up sounding rather constrained overall as a product.
Yeah.
And the False Alarm ends up ending as a very big diversion of their previous work, like their first album, which was Drake's History. That's usually what I equate it to. Not saying it's on the same level because, well, these albums are still really good, but I do think that
Mhm.
there's some revision and some potential in just improving the work to be done.
Oh yeah, there's always room for improvement in music overall, you know. But yeah, yeah, I don't think this is a bad album per se, but it's not anything earth-shattering
Yeah,
in terms of music, but doesn't mean that it's any more or less bad because of that. Your music doesn't have to be the most shattering thing for it to be good.
agreed. Yeah,
Um,
it's a pretty good album.
Yeah.
I would say it's for me it's better than Pop Psychology.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Um, but yeah. Uh, so any more closing thoughts, Daniel?
I don't think I have any left. I think
Yeah.
that
Okay.
should be it. Yeah.
So yeah. So overall, this album is a decent '80s throwback. Though the band has some room for improvement. Overall, the first half of the album is pretty strong, and it's very strong, catchy, very easy listen. And if you want some good '80s vibes or something to throw on while
Yeah,
you're
it's a
just
good summer.
working.
It's a good summer album, and I do think that they do deserve more recognition.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, for this one, like it needs a lot more than what it's currently getting.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was the publicity because, like you say, you mentioned that. Well, yeah. How did you find out that they had released this?
I followed on their socials.
Oh, that's how.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good that you did because like
Oh
otherwise
yeah.
nobody. I did not hear this at all.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the band since I was a kid. So uh
That's
uh
fair.
yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So hope everyone enjoyed. Remember to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And we will see you all next time at the like the the we'll see you next time.
What? Did you just have a stroke?
I had a stroke. My brain has a scratch on it, so I just kept repeating like a CD.
What happened?
All right,
Oh God! All right.
all
That's.
right. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, everyone have a good day, afternoon, or evening, and we'll catch you next time.